Can this libertarian help free Pennsylvania from tyranny? Let's talk about that.
Focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, happy Tuesday there, folks. Brian Nichols here on The Brian Nichols Show. Thank you for joining us on, of course, another fun-filled episode. I am, as always, your humble host, joining you live from our Stratus IP studios here in lovely Eastern Indiana. Don't let cyber attacks or outdated technology slow down your business. Go to briannicholsshow.com/Stratus IP. Learn how Stratus IP can help you solve those all those cyber attacks. Yeah, they've been happening left and right. Go ahead, get your free business technology consultation at briannicholsshow.com/Stratus IP. Stratus IP. Business technology simplified. Folks, looking forward to today's episode. But first, we got to pay the bills. And with that, we're going to go ahead and say hello to our sponsor, and that is Right Strategies. Now, Right Strategies, folks, if you are a small business owner or if you're like today's guest, a candidate running for office, then you know the challenge you face when you're trying to go out to the political landscape and make a difference. Well, here, Right Strategies, our sponsor for today's episode, can not only be your perfect partner in the digital landscape, but can help bring you the resources, the team, and the tools to help you crush your sales goals, crush your business goals, and crush your next election. They have amazing tools like their SMS texting tool, which will help you reach tens of thousands of voters and then help you crush your elections. And also, folks, by the way, we have a great opportunity here for all of our Brian Nichols Show listeners. If you want to go ahead and either A, get your free campaign snapshot report card, or B, your business marketing report card, head to briannicholsshow.com/RS and sign up today. But of course, you just got to go ahead and let Morgan and the team there at Right Strategies know that we sent you. One more time, briannicholsshow.com/RS, amplifying your message where voters and customers spend their time. All right, folks. So yeah, on to the episode. Thank you for joining us. Looking forward to this conversation because yes, we're talking about hopefully being able to free the state I just left, Pennsylvania, from some tyranny, and that is with our candidate today. He is running for governor of Pennsylvania, Matt Hackenburg. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, Matt. Thank you for joining the show. And yes, I always say this to the guests running with the big L next to their name. Thank you for running as a big L libertarian. Appreciate you. Yes, going out, fighting the good fight. And of course, now having to face the obvious question. Matt, why is it that you're running for office, number one, for governor of all positions, right? That's a big jump for somebody, but also as a big L libertarian. The floor is yours.
Well, I mean, it was a role that needed to be taken, and it's a great opportunity as a libertarian to get out and spread a message, and it could have been passed up. I feel like I'm well situated to take that opportunity and spread the message. I've a good grasp on the philosophy and what needs to be said, and so I took what needed to be taken.
There you go. All right. Well, let's talk about some of the things that you specifically maybe look at as you're running for office now as a big L libertarian, bringing it to the voters. What are you talking to the voters about right now? What are some of the issues, I guess, they're specifically saying, Matt, why should I vote for a libertarian to help me address XYZ issue that I see today?
So right now, the main thing I've been hammering on, at least as of late, was energy costs. I hammer on is a lot of us don't know how we're going to afford to heat our homes this winter. We just had a press conference in front of the state Capitol building in Harrisburg, and this is a big ornate building, and they're going to be heating this building just fine all winter. But meanwhile, those of us were facing, so we're looking at almost $6 a gallon for heating oil. Like how is your average person gonna be able to afford this? So even someone on a 2-income family, this is becoming prohibitively expensive. And as our wonderful dear leaders in DC continue to drive us into this off of this cliff of the unavailability of cheap energy, or the unavailability of energy period, we might enter this winter where not only can you not afford fuel, you may not be able to purchase it altogether. And so here we have these leaders of the state government. They're heating their homes just fine. They're paying it with our tax dollars, and we can't afford to heat our homes. We can't afford fuel to get to work. And that's something that needs to be done. This is something we can't just wait. This is something we can't just sit around and and hope that this is going to get fixed or changed. This is something that needs to be addressed immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And the big moral of the story here is that the people in Harrisburg, the people in DC, they do not care about you. They don't care about your family. They care about their own power. They care about their own wealth, and they have themselves taken care of. They take care of themselves off of your tax dollars, and leave the rest of us high and dry.
It's so true. It's so sad too, because I think a lot of folks right now, especially where the country is heading, they don't feel comfortable in that the future looks bright. I think the first time we've seen in very recent memory that a majority of Americans do not have a positive outlook on the future of America. So yeah, things aren't necessarily looking too good, but also I think folks are now specifically looking to say, okay, things haven't been working the way that we've been doing them. Let's try something different. So maybe we should try this this gold team, this yellow team, the Libertarians, and let's talk about some of the other issues. I know you mentioned specifically some of the issues as it pertains to the heating, the energy costs, but that also is I guess, attached to the inflation, cost of living skyrocketing. So what will Governor Hackenberg do to help the residents of Pennsylvania? I mean, heck, man, I just left Philadelphia. I wish I had you as an option. Tell us, what are you going to do to help us combat inflation, or at the very least, make it a little bit easier for former Pennsylvania residents to live their lives a little bit easier?
Well, I don't think I need to explain this to other libertarians, but we all should know the cause of inflation. Inflation is caused by one thing only, and that's the creation of new money and uncontrolled rates. And so as a governor of Pennsylvania, there's little that you can really do set aside from promote the use of hard currencies, whether it be gold and silver or Bitcoin. So then other than that is just a matter of defending the state and trying to stand up for the state, the people of the state as best you can against a out of control federal government. We're heading for a bumpy ride, and it's time that people realize that and batten down the hatches. And that's the really best thing we can do. And at the very least, we need a state government on the side of the people of Pennsylvania. Not enforcing all these silly policies, but rather standing up for the people of Pennsylvania against out of control federal government and a increasingly out of controlled, international government, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure. Well, and let's maybe take a little bit of a turn towards how we got here, right? And we always hear this talked about. Politics is always downstream from culture. Well, I think culture is sometimes downstream from education. And we saw over the past 2 years, number one, all the kids brought home when all the schools shut down. But number two, and I think this maybe is the most important thing, parents finally getting to see what their kids were being taught in these government schools. I know it opened a lot of parents' eyes, and we saw mass exodus across the country from parents getting their kids out of these government schools and going and hoping to find alternative means of education. What's the Governor Hackenberg approach there for Pennsylvania? Are you pro school choice? Are you pro charter schools? What's that look like?
So, I mean, this is one thing I really point out to people, especially right wingers who are more now tuned into what's going on in terms of the schools being out of control, is that the only solution to CRT or any other madness in the education system is school choice. I mean, really, government should be out of school altogether. We shouldn't be forcing people to pay for education. But if, baby steps, and the first thing to do is push for school choice, which is growing wildly popular now amongst mainstream politicians or politics, and it's something that needs to be pushed hard. And it's one of my major campaign policies is school choice, because it's right now with the school system we have right now, it's the result of a monopoly. You have a school system which is funded through coercion. You have to pay for it. You have no other choice but to pay for it, and you get the quality of service that you expect for such a service, for such a system. Poor quality and ridiculous prices. So, with the very least, with school choice, voucher systems, something along those lines, where parents can take the money out of the school and put their kids to a private school or homeschool or charter school or whatever else they want, would be vastly better than what we have right now.
Amen. Let's talk about what we all experienced the past 2.5 years. I teased it earlier. COVID-19 lockdowns, state of Pennsylvania determining who was considered essential and non-essential. That was a little dystopian. I remember watching Tom Wolfe on TV saying, yes, if you're a non-essential employee, you're going to be staying home. And I'm like, a non-essential employee? What's that? am I non-essential? I think I'm essential. I'm pretty sure I feel essential, but
Hmm.
yeah, government determining all of a sudden that I'm not essential, that was a little weird and semi-dystopian. But also, taking a step further, you look at some of the localities like Philadelphia, my God, things got it ramped up to an 11 over there. And frankly, it was one of the main reasons I left the state was because of how things were over the past 2.5 years in response to COVID-19. So, Matt, what would you do differently going forward? How would Pennsylvania residents feel going into a Hackenberg administration if we were to see another COVID strain pop up? Are we going to go into lockdown and other folks going to be told, sorry, you're unessential, you got to stay home?
Definitely not.
Okay.
We will not be determining who's essential and who's not essential. I mean, this is basic economics, right? That no one man or a group of men can ever have the amount of knowledge required to determine what is critical, what isn't critical for an economy. So that's just the peak hubris of a statist to think that you can determine what's essential. And we're seeing the repercussions of that now. A big part of it, prices increasing, scarcities especially is the aftermath of that, determining what's not essential, and like, well, you've now handicapped chunks of production in the economy, and it's just now we're going to be paying the price of that for a long time to come. But in general, as governor, I would not in a million years ever be telling people how to run their lives. I would like to do something more like what Florida has done, and actually push back and use the state government to push back against the federal government. The encroachments of the federal government. I think if a state government is to exist, and I'm an anarchist at heart. I mean, but if a state government is going to exist, I think its purpose should be to defend the people living in that political subdivision against higher levels of government overreach. So, much like Florida's done, prevent the enactment of mandates, and also push or publish better medical information about saying, hey, some of these things you're saying may not be true. These are some alternate ideas that might be, or alternate treatments that might work better, and things like that. Actually use that pulpit to promote greater liberty.
Talk to us about the Second Amendment, because I always thought that, the Bill of Rights, that was supposed to, codify certain things that just were off limits. And I assumed that included the right to bear arms. But in Pennsylvania, and even if you go to cities like Philadelphia, gun rights are just like non-existent. So talk to us about what you would do differently to help folks feel that they are going to be able to defend themselves more freely in Pennsylvania.
Well, realize first of all, Philadelphia is starkly different than the rest of the state. Philadelphia is a unique subdivision in that it has its own set of gun laws. Fortunately, the rest of the state is preemption, and we have pretty good, limited gun control. But as far as that goes, I think the Second Amendment is a cute codification of what is a natural right, a God-given right, or however you want to call it. I think it doesn't matter whether it's written on a piece of paper or not. This is a basic human right, and it's innate. And that any state infringing upon that at any level, at any amount, is uncalled for, is unacceptable, is an act of aggression, and is a crime. So as governor, and I've said this openly, that I would declare the ATF a foreign actor, a terrorist organization, if you will, and prohibit the state police from cooperating with the ATF and working with the ATF. And if anything, they will be tasked to work against them and to thwart them from harassing the residents of Pennsylvania. I would like to make Pennsylvania a Second Amendment sanctuary state. I think any citizen should be allowed to own whatever firearms they wish. I don't believe in any restrictions on the ownership of machine guns and short barrel rifles, suppressors. I don't think felons should be restricted from owning firearms, and that's crazy. But I think if someone is too dangerous to own a firearm, then they're too dangerous to not be in prison, and that's as simple as that. And if you're not dangerous, then you don't belong in prison. And if you're not dangerous, then you should be allowed to own whatever firearms you want.
I think I read that in an article that was published. I forget where it was. Maybe you were visiting. Was it Unity, Pennsylvania? Maybe is that a city, a village in PA? Okay. Yeah. Well, hey, anyways, I read an article where you had that quote, and it made me chuckle because that's the answer. You hear red flag laws and all that kind of stuff. It's like, wait, if somebody's a threat to somebody else, then what are we doing? Why are they in a position where they could harm somebody else? Isn't
Right.
that the role for government, right? So if there is ever going to be a role, it is to stop that specific harm. And in this case, no, what are we doing? And thank you for raising this up as an issue, because I think a lot of folks end up not really focusing on this when you're talking about state issues. It ends up being more localized, and this seems to be more of a national conversation. But there are so many things you can do from a state perspective, and I think folks need to remember that. So it's important when you vote for these elections. And with that being said, Matt, election's right around the corner here. It's next Tuesday, a week from today. So folks who are voting in the great state of Pennsylvania, yes, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, talk to us about what they can do to help support your campaign. But also, I'm sure you're looking for some donations that you're trying to get over the last hurdle here, which is the election. And what are you going to consider? I know there's a final question of the third question. What are you going to consider to be success from a Hackenberg campaign perspective? What are you guys going to look at election night and say, yeah, you know what, this is where we consider we did a good job?
Well, I mean, as far as helping out, I mean, everyone get your friends, family out to vote. Preferably vote for me, but if not, at least vote for the down ballot Libertarian candidates. We like to really, as Libertarian Party, I mean, we promote more the local governance as much as possible, so we can get state reps on there and get your local town officials elected as from the Libertarian Party. It'd be fantastic. But for me, I mean, I would love to get over 4%. That'd be fantastic. And the more than it's great. I would love to cause an upset. I'd love to get trigger all the Mastriano supporters and cost them an election and have them blame me. I want my name to be hated by many on the right. That'd be fantastic. Other than that, as long as we can get some message out there and spread the idea of liberty, that's great.
All right, Matt. Well, with that being said, folks, if you enjoyed today's episode, I'm going to ask you to do me a favor. Number one, go ahead and give it a share. And when you do, please tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty, and please go ahead and tag Matt as well. Matt, where can folks go ahead and reach out to you if they want to continue the conversation on social media?
So you can check my website, matthackenburg.com. And also we're on Twitter at Twitter or at Matt Hackenberg, and all the other usual Facebook and so on. So I think it's at Matt Hackenberg PA. But so just check out matthackenburg.com. You'll find out all my links there, and you can check us out. You can donate. You can see if you can volunteer, whatever else we might need help out with.
Perfect. And we'll make it easy for the audio listener. We'll include all those links over at briannicholsshow.com. All you got to do, click the artwork in your podcast catcher. It'll bring you right to today's episode, where, yes, you can find the entire episode, transcript of today's episode. Plus, you can find us over on YouTube, on Rumble, and over on Odyssey. All I ask is that when you go over there, please do us a favor, hit that magical subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss a single time we have a brand new episode go live. And oh, by the way, folks, did you check out our conversation yesterday? Well, it was you and me, and we were talking one-on-one about the new article. Did you read this, Matt? The article that was written over at the Atlantic that we need to have pandemic amnesty. Did you hear about this?
I did not hear about this. No.
Oh man, it's a gem. So we had this lady, Emily Oster, I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. She writes this gem of an article over at the Atlantic saying, okay, well, you know what? Even though we were yelling at you to keep your kids masked and social distance from us when we were out on a hike outside, because we didn't know, we need to face amnesty for all the things we said and did towards you. And she wrote this whole article over at the Atlantic. I went through. I eviscerated it, because I think many of us, and I'm sure because this is one of the main reasons I was, we were talking beforehand, that you joined the Libertarian Party, the big L party, and then specifically, put yourself in a position now to take the mantle for governor going forward. The response to COVID-19 has been absolutely insane. And I think a lot of folks have really started to gravitate towards, our camp. Thank God. Finally, folks are waking up. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, folks, I included that link right here below if you're joining us on the video version of the show. Otherwise, again, briannicholsshow.com. You can find today's episode, that episode, and all 615 other episodes. Final thoughts, Matt Hackenberg, what do you got for us?
So as I said, check us out on the website. Also check out Defend the Guard. It's a great movement to try to get, especially as we're heading into World War III here any minute, to help prohibit Pennsylvania or other states, prohibit their governors from sending our National Guard troops into federal service in a time of war without an official declaration of war, as required by the United States Constitution. So check it out, defendtheguard.com, and it'll be a big help.
There you go, folks. All right. Well, there's your call to action. Otherwise, that being said, tomorrow, our good friend Kenny Cody, he's returning to Brian Nichols' show for his segment of Cody's Concerns. Make sure you've hit that subscribe button so you don't miss that awesome episode we have airing tomorrow night around 6 p.m. here on YouTube. And of course, we'll be hitting the podcast version shortly thereafter. So with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show for Matt Hackenburg. We'll see you tomorrow.
For listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.